So my thing was, all right, black holes, right? I said, what, in my opinion, well, first do do you really think black holes could be like wormholes to a different, would it be a different dimension or just a different place in space?
Like within our same universe. There's really
Yeah.
no way of knowing. Like
Do you
that's
believe,
kind of the funny thing.
do you believe in multi universes, the multi universe theory?
Um, I think it. I think it's we don't fully understand it yet, but yes, like for me, I think it's more of a thing about like probability, where like everything that can exist technically does exist. It's just the universe we're living in is a set one, you know? Where like right now, for example, like there's a universe exactly like ours, except you had what was the last thing you had to eat? Like you ate something different.
Watermelon.
Okay, so in another universe you had cantaloupe. Like that universe exists, and it's just not the real one that you and I are sharing and living in right now, because we're living in the one where you had watermelon. Like the one where you said, actually I'm gonna have cantaloupe today. That one, like it exists. It was a possibility. You could have today just been like, I want cantaloupe, but
Mm-hmm.
watermelon right now. But like it was a possibility. It just didn't come to pass. So
I
like
s
I think it's something like it exists in a sense, you know?
In a sense, it's a it exists in a possibility form,
And then part of
but
the
that
thing
doesn't make it
also is
true though.
it doesn't make it true in this universe. Like I said, in this timeline, I guess if you want to say, that's where it is. That's where the difference happens.
Yeah.
Because like every timeline is continually branching at every millisecond of every little thing that could have gone differently. The wind could have blown a little different. I could have just phrased my sentence a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but we're living in this universe right now. That's why like sometimes I always feel like, you ever heard of be like quantum immortality? Like imagine like your consciousness is just like tied to your body right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow in a way that we obviously don't understand, but your consciousness is just following your body around, and
Okay.
your consciousness is going to steer you to the universe where it sticks around the longest, right? Because everybody wants to live. We're assuming your consciousness wants to be alive. So like it'll do its best to maneuver you through the potentialities of this universe into the one that works out best for you, say. So like quantum immortality is like, in my universe, say you get hit by a bus tomorrow. In my universe, Paul is dead. You got hit by a bus. But you're still living in your universe where like that bus missed you and you're like, yo, what up, man? I almost got hit by a bus today.
Yeah. The
But
only
like
issue
we branched off, is what I'm saying,
the
from that
only
same universe.
the only issue I have with that is that like I feel like at any literally every second you can do something different. So you would have an infinite amount of possibilities of how things
That's
play out.
literally the point, is what we're saying. There's infinite possibilities, but we're living only in one at a given time. So like that infiniteness is just too much for like a being that lives in one timeline at a time. It seems stupid because it's not really for our brains. We're not even literally built to think that way.
Yeah. Yeah. But as far as like a black hole, I in my opinion, I like I think a black hole is literally like right here. A black hole is a place in space where gravity pulls so much that even light cannot get out. Gravity is so strong because matter has been squeezed into a tiny space. This can happen with stars dying. I like get out. People can't see black holes. I always assumed that a black hole was literally just a vacuum of just such intense gravity that it's just crushing everything in there. And it's just continually just like spinning and
Yeah,
crushing and
but like
sucking everything in
we
and just
have
getting bigger.
conservation of mass. So like where does it go then? Does the mass of the black hole continually go up and up and up as it
I,
swallows stuff?
I think it keeps getting bigger.
I think the mass stays the same, doesn't it? I don't know. Like,
That's a good question,
we'll
actually.
see. Look, it says a sufficiently compact mass can deform space time to form a black hole. So a black hole isn't so much like, yes, it's a point, but it's a deformation in space time. Like I said, it's a bend in space. The same way gravity is like, if you think about like orbiting a planet, like a planet orbiting the sun, right?
Yeah.
It's like you could think about it like, oh yeah, it's just going in a circle, or you could look at it like gravity, the gravity of this body has created a bowl shape. That body, smaller body, is not rolling around in. That's how gravity works. It deforms space.
Yeah, yeah, that was okay. That was the point that you brought up last time, I think, was where you said, because I was like, yeah, it would just fucking just like crush you. I was like, what would happen if you went in a black hole? And you did bring a good point where like it deforms space around you, so maybe you probably wouldn't be crushed because you would just like
Your
literally,
cells wouldn't get crushed because the mass is staying the same. It's the space being bent around you, you know?
yeah,
So like you wouldn't so much get smashed as in the space around you would get smashed. But like relative to yourself, you would feel the same, I think. Because it's happening to your whole body at the same time.
that's a crazy thought. Because yeah, I just assume like it's just like this sucking fucking hole pause where it just like you just get like
Well,
just
remember, nothing
collapse into
sucks in
nothing.
science. Like there's no such thing as suction. Like it's literally doesn't exist. Things fall or there's differences in pressure. So like with the black hole, we know it's not a pressure differential because there is no pressure. There's zero pressure and close to zero pressure in space. So
Yeah,
like why would it be draining into a black hole? There's zero pressure, right? So like
yeah. I
so
guess we
like
don't.
that's what I'm saying. Think about a black hole like a drain in space. That's exactly what I think about. It's gravity. It's not getting sucked in. There's no like suction. It's falling in. It's literally falling through a hole in space. A
If you,
3D hole.
yeah,
Literally imagine what a 3D hole would look like. That's what a black hole is.
yeah, it'd be
It's
like
a
a pipe.
hole in space. No, it'd be like a black ball where you can enter from any side and get pooped out somewhere else. Like
I
imagine a
guess
3D portal, you know what I mean? Where instead of being a flat circle, it's a sphere and you can enter from any side and just get still popped out at a different point.
that's fucking weird,
Isn't it though? You know? Like
isn't
space
it?
is such an interesting thing. Like that's why like when people say warp drives, I'm like I look at it differently, so differently now as an adult. Because like warp, literally I think like, oh, you're literally warping, like bending space
Yeah.
instead of, like propelling yourself. You're just bending the space around yourself.
It's a trip. I'm trying to like just wrap my mind around it.
Okay. Like imagine you're sitting on a blanket, right? You're
Yeah.
sitting on a blanket, a really long blanket or like a rug, and on the other end of the rug, there's like a hockey puck, right? If you
Hmm.
want to reach the hockey puck, yeah, you could get up and walk to the under end of the rug, or you could pick up the rug and pull it to yourself.
Yeah.
That's what warp drive essentially is doing.
Yeah.
You could either move yourself on the rug or you could
Or
move the rug
move.
closer to yourself.
Yeah. Literally grab the fabric of the
Space.
universe.
Yeah, you literally grabbing the fabric of space and going and just pulling yourself forward.
That's so weird. That would have to be done with a mixture of gravity, but also time is tied into that because like you can't move you can't move anywhere without a passage of time.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing now is that like time is relative, right? Because like, say you're just float. You're the only reason we all experience time the same way is because we're all moving at the same speed. Like we're all sitting on the same rock that's going at a constant speed around the sun, so we experience time the same way. Whereas, like, if you set a clock and sync them perfectly right here on the surface of the Earth, and you send one up to the space station, the one on the space station is slowly going to fall behind because it's moving slower than us, so it's slow, it's experiencing time ever so slightly differently.
Yeah.
It's sort of like in Interstellar, like if you move on a really fast planet, time goes really fast. Move on a really slow planet, time goes really slow, right? So like if you're out in the center of you, like of just space, and there's no forces on you,
Yeah.
you're going to experience time differently than a bunch of people who are here sitting on the surface of the planet.
Yeah, time dilation is definitely real and you'll experience it differently, but I think it would still move at some uh
Well, yeah, because
amount.
your body's moving. Like literally the
Yeah.
electricity in your cells and your cells like moving nutrients around, like there's still movement. The only
Yeah.
thing that experiences no time, I'd say, is something that's 100% still, which is almost impossible.
Yeah, what would that even be? Antimatter?
Meditation.
Meditation. Um,
The, the consciousness has no mass. So it can potentially have no velocity, right? So the only thing that could experience true stillness would be consciousness.
I suppose that's a good that's a good little theory right there.
Right? I mean, who knows? We're spitballing here.
No, I like it. I like it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was just interesting. Yeah, that was the point I was trying to remember. I was like, I know he said something that kind of made me trip out, and it was the fact that like, yeah, if you get sucked into a black hole, potentially, because I was just assuming you would be crushed and like you would just
Crushed and you're dead, and that's
yeah,
it. Yeah.
and you would be just become part of the other matter that's in there, or the antimatter that's in there, whatever's in there, dark matter. But yeah, if everything is warped around you, then you would be warped with it, and maybe it'd be like you'd be sliding through kind of perfectly.
Like a 3D hole. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. I don't know, man. Have you heard of traveling black stars? I mean, black holes?
No, that I haven't heard of.
Apparently, they have black holes that literally like travel throughout the universe.
They just move. Okay.
Yeah, they move and they can just show up at different places.
It's pretty sick.
Ain't that some fucking scary shit, dude? Like what? Like the randomness that can just occur in the space at any in the universe at any time is kind of wild if you think about it.
All right, hear me out. Like, this is gonna sound crazy, right? So, like, we've talked about black holes, right? I said it's like a 3D hole where like
Yeah,
everything is like shooting inwards, so it looks black, right? Because you can't see it. There's no light reflecting off it. It just gets sucked in.
yeah.
Um, so like we've conceptualized the 3D hole. Imagine a black ball that functions effectively like a portal where you can reach in from any side, right?
Hmm.
So now imagine the same thing, except instead of a black ball where everything comes inwards, imagine a white ball where everything only comes outwards.
A spirit bomb.
It's like a white hole is like a theoretically possible thing that's been postulated but never actually discovered.
What is a white hole?
It's literally the opposite of a black hole. Like a black hole is like a super dense part of space that just sucks in and in and in and has like no mass, and like it kind of breaks physics right now because we don't know what happens to the mass. Like conservation of mass, like when something gets sucked into a black hole, what happens to it? Does the black hole get heavier? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a paradox. But like a white hole is the opposite. It would be a hole that just spits out matter.
Maybe maybe that's the other end of the black hole.
Right? That's what I'm saying. But
Maybe
at the
they're
same
tied together.
time, when you also think about it, doesn't it also kind of just sound like a sun, like a star? It just spits out, in this case, energy as
Energy.
opposed to mass, because black holes suck in mass and
There's no
stars spit out
suction.
energy. Well, yeah, you know what I mean. Nothing sucks in science.
Nothing sucks in science.
Yeah, exactly.
What science teacher told you that, man?
Fucking Mr.
That's
Wooten.
that's so
That
stupid.
dude could shred though.
That dude could shred.
That dude could shred.
um,
We used to go in at lunch and play guitar with Mr. Wooten. That dude was a boss.
Theoretical description of one many facets common with that we identify as the hot Big Bang. Some people theorize that a white hole's what the Big Bang was.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, and if you believe in the multi multiverse theory, then you could literally have multiple white holes that are just the expansions of universes, I suppose. Hmm. Did we just
Well,
discuss?
because we also the Big Bang theory also like implies that before the Big Bang everything was singularity. Like all the mass and energy in the universe existed in a single point of space. And then that's why the Big Bang happens, because for some reason, like it decided to not exist in a single point of space anymore. And then it just space decided to just expand. And then after that, matter started to solidify out of like the gas and heat and everything.
Do you believe in the Big Bang?
Um, I mean, it's our best bet. It's our best guess
Yeah.
right now. But like, I mean, to say I believe in it is silly because like obviously it's going to be amended at some point.
What? What do you mean?
What do you
It's
mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? Literally nothing in science. Name something in science that's lasted. Our
gravity.
We don't understand gravity.
But still, it's
No, like
lasted.
that's literally why they're taking it off the fucking school curriculum in some places, some weird backwater places, is because it's a theory, because we can explain that gravity happens and we can observe that it happens consistently, but we can't call it a law of the universe because we don't understand why it works. Like Newton has laws because we understand how they work, but
Yeah.
theories like gravity or like evolution, like we know they happen. It's not like a question of whether or not it actually happens. It's just we don't like have a perfect explanation for how it happens.
Yeah. It's the
So
law of gravity.
we have a theory of gravity. There is no law of gravity, like I said, because we don't understand it.
What goes up must come down.
Not
It's
always,
simple.
man. Not if you're in
not,
space.
not always. I
Not
guess you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
like literally there's nothing in science that we've discovered and thought we understood and then has that's understanding has stayed the same. Like there's so much nuance to the universe. Like I said, we have no understanding of quantum mechanics, we have no understanding of chaos theory. Like there's so much that we don't understand, and like it's no wonder we don't understand even the things we think we understand, like gravity.